My name is José Luís Cardoso. I'm currently the Dean of the Institute of Social Sciences of the University of Lisbon. I've been also a Deputy Director of this institute for the last 4 years, and I am a researcher, a senior researcher, research professor. So I'm basically doing research in the history of economic thought. This is my main area of research, and I keep doing it. Though in the present situation of being dean of the institute, unfortunately the time I may deserve to research is not so much as I would like to. I couldn't live without doing research and teaching as well as be in the PhD programs here at the institute, but of course my time constraints are enormous, and unfortunately I cannot give the time I would like to a lot to research at the moment.
Why did you take the path of going to study history of economic thought?
Well, as you may know, I'm here at the Institute of Social Sciences after having been for a long period research full professor at the Institute ISEG, the Technical University of Lisbon at the time, and I've always taught at ISEG the course of history of economic thought. And this combination of history, economics, sociology, and an approach to economics for which the knowledge in history and social science is relevant has always been something that has been a part of my research career and of my interest as researcher and as professor. And so I found in the history of economic thought an opportunity to doing economics, because one has to be aware of economics to do the history of the discipline, but at the same time to do the history of science implies methodological approaches and a concern with other disciplines which are relevant to understand the way how economics develops through time.
In practical terms, do you have any ritual or particular methodology for doing research?
I wouldn't say so. As an historian, of course, archive data, and especially the sources that we are dealing with. If we are doing the history of economics, if we are dealing with Adam Smith, Alfred Marshall, Keynes, Milton Friedman, you have to go to the text, and our basic sources are the texts that the authors have written, and try to understand the way how they dealt with analytics, mathematics, concepts, but also the way how they integrated in their times. And so the history is in a certain sense is a history that is a history of the texts and the context in which the texts were written. And it depends on the kind of work that you are doing. But for instance, in my case, which implies a certain attention paid to Portuguese authors, what basically I try to do is, and this is my ritual when dealing with Portuguese authors, is not to take them as a part of the country, but to try to understand how the ideas they are dealing with, how the policies they are trying to implement, the reforms, the economic reforms they are trying to improve, are in a certain way also a reflection of what has been done in other contexts, and so the comparative approach is always present. Now I'm working basically on processes of transmission, diffusion, appropriation of economic knowledge in Portugal in late 18th century, early 19th century, and also trying not only to deal with economic texts, but also with texts dealing with, for instance, applied issues to agriculture, to commerce, and to industry, in which the notion of science is a notion of something that is useful to improve reforms and to improve betterments in the function, the process of allocation of resources. So basically, I'm dealing now with literature of late 18th century and trying to see how this literature can help us to understand the processes of change in economic sectors, agriculture, commerce, industry in late 18th century, but at the same time how ideas circulated and how also technology was diffused, and how science, and when I'm talking about science, I'm talking about natural history, I'm talking about botany, I'm talking about knowledge of the vegetal, the animal, and the mineral worlds that were necessary in order to improve the allocation of resources for import substitution, for better processes a better process of production.
What is your favorite paper from you?
This is a very difficult question. Maybe let's put it. One of my favorite papers is a paper that I have written on a Portuguese Jew immigrated to Amsterdam in the 17th century, Josep de la Vega, and as a Jew, he was forced by the Inquisition to go away and to live in Amsterdam, where he has followed the activities of the stock exchange market in Amsterdam. And so this paper is the paper about a book that he wrote called Confusión de Confusiones. So it's a confusion, the perception that he had of the stock exchange, and it's a kind of a reflection on the conditions of the functioning of financial markets in the late 17th century, and at the same time to try to show how modern was de la Vega's reflections on the functioning of the exchange market. This paper has been published by Financial History Review, so it was published in a journal, a specialized journal in financial history. And I always, I wouldn't say that it is the most relevant or the paper I like more, but it's one of my favorite papers, I would say.